So here we have this VEVOR 84-inch folding poker table. Now, full disclosure, they did send this to me for free, but the opinions in this video are my own. Alright, and here's the box it came in. It's a pretty big box. It's about 4 foot by 4 foot. And let's go ahead and open this thing up, and then we can take a closer look at the table. It came with this user manual, as well as this cover you can put over it when you store it. It came packaged really well. There's lots of foam and bubble wrap. Here's what it looks like right out of the box. It's already fully assembled and ready to go. There's a latch up top here that holds the two sides of the table together, and if we go ahead and undo that, we can open this thing up. I definitely recommend having a second person help you with this because this thing is a little bit heavy, but it just folds out like this, just like a regular folding table. Then you fold the legs out, and then you can stand it up. And after folding this thing out, I think it looks great, but I am noticing one issue. You might be able to tell that it's not quite flat. There's a bit of a gap in the center there, but luckily they have a tensioner down here, and this allows you to tighten it up a bit, which will solve the issue. After tightening it up most of the way, you can see it flattened out really well. Anyway, off my initial impressions, this seems like a pretty good quality table. That being said, there is one issue I noticed, which I'll get into a little bit later. Alright, so the top of this thing is about a ½ inch thick, and you can see from the bottom here that it's made from plywood, which I do really like because that's going to be much stronger than MDF. These legs are made of a powder coated metal. They seem like your standard folding table legs, of course with the addition of these couple tensioners here. And it has these non-slip, non-marring feet, which is great as well. And then on the top of the table, there's this bumper that sticks up about 1¼ inches, and it goes all the way around the table. It has a little bit of cushioning to it, maybe ¼ inch of padding, and then of course on top is this nice faux leather. Nothing super fancy, but it looks nice and it's pretty comfortable to rest your elbows on. I also really like the top of this table. It's covered in felt and it's also a little bit cushiony. It's nice and soft. I really like that. It makes it really easy to deal cards because they slide really nicely. And even if you throw them just a little too far, the bumpers around the edges will stop them from falling off the table. And if you're used to playing cards on a hard wooden tabletop, you'll instantly notice that the cushiony surface makes it a lot easier to pick up your card. And overall, it's just a more enjoyable surface to play cards on. Anyway, around the outside of the table, there's 10 cup holders, so you can have a 10-person game on here. And the cup holders are a perfect size for a soda can or a glass bottle. And then of course, the center here has this pretty cool design that has the card placements for Texas Hold'em. Obviously, you can use it for whatever, but it is set up for Texas Hold'em. Now, this table measures 42 inches wide by 84 inches long. And since this table fits 10 players, you are going to be just a little bit closer together than you would be on a professional table. Now, my one issue with this table, which is honestly pretty small, but it's definitely still worth mentioning, is how sturdy it is. As far as overall sturdiness, I think I'd have to give this thing about a 6.5 out of 10. It's not that bad, but I was expecting it to be at least as sturdy as one of those plastic folding tables, and I honestly can't say it is. You can see that there's just a little bit of movement when I push down on it, and it also does rock side to side just a little. That being said though, assuming you're not using this for a professional tournament or something like that, I think that little bit of wobble is perfectly acceptable. Also, you'll probably notice that I'm stepping on the table and it seems to bend down in the center here. This thing is meant to be able to support up to 220 pounds, so I wanted to test that out, but for some reason the tensioner in the center loosened up quite a bit. I think the reason that happened is because these clamps that lock the cables together weren't quite tightened all the way, so I took a small Allen wrench and loosened up the 2 screws that clamp down on the cable. Then I used a pair of pliers and pulled the cable tight again, and then I tightened those back up. And after retensioning the cable, I walked across it with no issues, and as you can see, the cable stayed nice and tight. So just a quick tip for when you first open this thing up, I'd recommend taking a small Allen wrench and tightening up all of the cable clamps. Anyway, once you're done using the table, it's pretty simple to fold up. You just flip it over like this, then fold in the 2 legs, then clip the 2 sides together, and then slide the cover over it so it doesn't get dusty. And it doesn't have a handle, but you can just grab onto the rails and move it around that way. And yeah, I mean, I'd say it's a pretty nice folding poker table. It's not terribly expensive. It gives you a really nice spot to play at. I like the cushiony top as well as the rails, and the cup holders are nice as well.